Welcome back to another layer overview of a new template design. This one is called Comic. So clearly the idea behind this one is something a little more fun. I think something to be great for a lot of the youth leagues, but with this comic book design. But I wanted to take a quick look here at some of the options included in this design, just to give you a little familiarity with where to set some of the changes and whatnot. So let's just jump into this and take a look at what we've got here. So starting at the top of the layer stack, we have our color grading layers. Again, very familiar with a lot of my designs. And that's going to add more of that punchiness and a little contrast, a little color to the images to give them that final look. But again, you can always expand this group. There's a couple different layers in there. You could tweak the opacities on that if you wanted to change that. So that's a good thing about layer designs, is being able to make your own adjustments. Below that, we have some facial highlight boost layers for lighter skin below, darker skin above. Again, you can always refer to the layer names in my designs to see what each layer is doing. But that's just going to help bring out the highlights on the face to keep your subject, kind of the forefront of the attention of the image. And you would just click the mask here, grab a white brush, and paint over those facial highlights to bring those out and adjust the opacity to what you like. We can take a look at that once we put a subject in here. Below that, we have a couple text layers. So these are just normal text. Literally just double click on the icon here and you can change that text to anything that you would like. So let's just say Knights for this one and click apply. Alright, so that's just easy text changes. The links to the sample fonts that I'm using are on the product page as always, so you can get those directly from those sites. So let's go below the text. We've got a couple of graphic options sitting behind that text. So it's that little, let's turn their text off here. So that's that little explosion type of comic graphic here. And there's two options. One is in color, and the other one is just in black and white in case you want to do the black and white background look to this. We're going to go on down, so marked in red is always the subject group where subjects are placed. As I do in a lot of my designs, this one is a nested subject group, so if you expand this one, you're going to see there's another group to place the subject inside of that second group, and that's what's going to allow the subject to pick up some of the layer style effects that's being applied here. Again, we'll take a look once we turn our subject on at that. If we go on down, there's a couple of layers here for our black and white conversion. So the top one is just going to do that black and white conversion. The one below that is just adding some contrast to get a lot of those whites and blacks to pop on that. I think it looks better on that black and white conversion. So a couple layers for that black and white there. This is just the grid for that comic book layout there. And then our panels are going to sit in behind that grid. But right above the panels here, this is a little colorization layer. It's going to take all of the whites and colorize them to more of that vintage yellow type of look. But again, that's something that could be turned on or off, or opacity changed based on what you would like for the look there. But that is an option. And then below that is these are our panel groups. So we got our top left panel here. And I left these as groups that has the graphic in there, in case for any reason you wanted to be able to drop in your own images. Maybe you wanted to put an image of a field or another subject in, or whatever you want to do. These panels are laid out so that you can literally drop in your own images, and they're masked so that once you put them in that panel group, they're just going to only show within that kind of box that's been defined by the mask. So here's our top right group. Again, there's just a default graphic in there. Then below this, now we're going to have some options on this kind of first whole row here. We're going to have some sport options. So the first one, we'll call this sport action panel. So these are some comic graphics that I made up that you can turn on or off. And first of all, there's a little colorize option here. So you could go with the color version, or you could turn this hue saturation adjustment layer on, and you could colorize that by moving this hue slider and your saturation, lightness, whatever you need to create. If you wanted to use school colors on that line there to keep that a little bit of consistency with your uniforms or something, you could absolutely do that with that colorization layer right here. But if we open up this sport action panel, there's going to be quite a few options in here There's just like a generic kind of actiony explosion type of graphic here that could be turned on. There's our old school like Wham type graphic that could be turned on. But then there's some sports stuff in here, like there's a cheer one, pickleball, and a lot of these we have girl and guy versions. So there's pickleball guy, and then like golf girl, golf guy. So there's several options in here that can be turned on and off. So feel free to take a look at those, and of course on the product page you're going to see the options there that are available. Below that we've got our sport object box, so that's going to be the box here that has like currently has the hockey puck in it. If we expand this group, we're going to see some options in here. So again, you could turn this off and then just turn the next one on. If we wanted the soccer ball, we could turn that one on. There's a little clay pigeon for the trap shooting, running shoe for track. So a few different options in there: cheer, hockey, football, baseball, golf ball, bowling, and there's our pickleball, tennis ball, baseball, softball, volleyball, and some musical notes for band. All right, so that's what's in there by default. Again, on the product page, you can see those options that are in there. Let's just turn one on at random for now, and we'll collapse this group. Below that is our middle left box that has our kind of action word graphic there. The one below that is going to be our POW graphic. Below that is our boom graphic. And again, you could drop your own images in here if you wanted to. Then we have our bottom. So there's our bottom right and bottom left corners there. All right, so that's pretty much the layer that consists in the group and some of the options. If we turn the subject on, I'm going to expand the subject group, expand the nested group, and let's just turn the subject on. So I got our baseball player in here. As with any template, you know, you're just going to drop your extracted file in, size them, and place them. So no big deal there. But let's look at changing a couple options here. So I'm going to go to our sport action panel group, and I'm going to come down to baseball. So let's find our baseball option. So turn hockey off and turn our baseball on. So there's our baseball guy. So let's collapse this group back. Now I'm going to come down to the sport object box, and let's turn our baseball on here. So first we need to turn soccer off, and then we'll scroll up here and turn our baseball softball graphic on. All right, so here's where there's also within this sport object box, if you wanted to colorize that background, that's done with this color fill layer right here. So we could double click and you could select, say, uniform color. If you wanted to pick up that blue or that orange, you could set those colors here. Let's go with a little bit lighter orange maybe. Click OK. All right, let's close this group back down. And now on our sport action panel, this is that colorization. If we wanted to push a little bit of that orange in there to pick up that kind of uniform color across that strip there of the comic, that's what that is in there for. Let's scroll on up here. I'm going to see if I like the colorization on. I think I like that vintage type of look to it, so I'm going to leave that on. Let's go change our text here. So instead of Knights, this team is Crush. So we're going to put that in there. And I'm just going to Command T or Control T and just resize this to make it just a little bit bigger there. I think that looks better. And again, because it's normal text, you can just click on the color, and if you wanted to pick up, again, a jersey color or something, let's pick up some more of that orange. I think I like the orange better. Make it just a little bit brighter. There we go. I like that. And then we could change the name here just by typing the new text. And again, it can all be pushed around with, you know, your move tool or arrow keys or whatever, you know. So very easy to customize this and to set up those options. There is one last thing that I did want to include on this, and with this design I've also included a custom action to take your subject and create a cartoonized type of version of them to match this whole aesthetic. So to use that, what we're going to do is open up our subject group. I'm going to come select our subject, and then you're going to see when you load this up, and if you've never added an action, all you need to do is make sure your action panel is turned on under Window. When you have your action panel, you can click on the little three bars here. 4 bars it actually looks like. I need to look a little closer there. We're going to go down and you can go to Load Actions. And if you just browse out to your download files, when you extract them, you're going to see the action right here. So I just double click on that and it's going to load, typically it's going to load that action at the end. So right here's that action. I'm just going to make sure the subject is selected and click the play button. And you're going to see it's going to add, it's basically going to create a secondary layer. So it's going to disable that first one where it hasn't altered your subject. It's going to run the action and it's going to create that cartoony type of effect if you wanted to match that whole aesthetic. So I want to zoom here and take a look so you can see the effect here. My goal for this was to try and keep the subject looking like themselves, but to add somewhat of a cartoonized type of effect to match that background if desired. Now, depending on the lighting on your subject and how they're photographed and everything, you're going to get different results, of course, as with any action. You're never going to get 100% kind of translation rate on everything, but I've done some testing on several different ones and it looks pretty good. So I wanted to include that for anybody that would like to take advantage of that. That's already in the download. And so I'm actually going to tweak these background colors a little bit. I'm thinking maybe let's go to our object panel here. Let me see what blue looks like in this background. So just tweaking around here. This is what I do a lot of times. Let's go back up here to our colorize layer. And let's push that into more of a blue. So I think I like maybe the blue tones better back there than the orange even. There we go. That looks pretty cool. But again, you could always go. A lot of these I just like the default that's set in there too, to the red. So again, just showing you how quickly you could make these changes is really all that I'm doing here. And select OK. And there you go. You could just save that from there and you're good to go. So yeah, hopefully you get a lot of use out of this one, and I'll see you on the next one.